kill.
Oh, hello there! I'm Kirk, welcome back to the channel. Since its announcement back in 2018, Halo Infinite has had quite the development journey. Originally planned to be a launch title for the bulky black monolith that is the Xbox Series X, oh yeah, and the S too. The title has seen some major delays due in part to difficulties stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as some honest feedback from gamers concerning Infinite's visuals. Now, after a year of fine-tuning and polish, Halo Infinite is finally set for release. Actually, at the time of this video's upload, it's just a few short days away. Oh boy. In the meantime, to keep impatient Halo fans happy, and celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Xbox, who feels old? I sure do. Microsoft Game Studios released the beta of Infinite's free-to-play multiplayer portion early, allowing dedicated Spartans to do what they do best. Now, my original plan was to do a big Halo Infinite review that would cover all aspects of the game. But honestly, I've been hooked to this beta since it dropped a few weeks ago. And you know what? I'm impatient and I want to talk about it now. So consider today's video part 1 of my Halo Infinite review, covering the newest iteration of this storied multiplayer mode.
Killing spree.
Now, of course, this is still a beta, and there are some aspects of this mode yet to come. So if anything is changed or added in the full release, or if I simply find more to talk about, I will address it in an upcoming part 2 covering the campaign. Alright, enough of that. Slap a clip in the BR and spark up a sword. It's time to get slaying. Alright my friends, let's cover the basics. Halo Infinite, while technically Halo 6, is actually the 8th mainline game in the long-running first-person shooter franchise that helped launch the Xbox. Infinite is being published by Microsoft Game Studios, exclusively for Xbox Series X and S, as well as the PC, and is set to launch on December 8th. It is being developed by 343 Industries, who took the franchise over from its original developer Bungie back in 2012 with Halo 4. The full version will feature a meaty new single-player campaign alongside the competitive multiplayer mode, obviously. But in a first for the series, the multiplayer mode has been released as a free-to-play experience. That's right, anybody can hop in there and get their slaying and teabagging in at no charge. No Xbox Live Gold or Game Pass required. There's definitely some monetization gobbledygook, but we'll cover that later on.
Double kill.
On paper, Halo multiplayer doesn't differ all that much from a classic arena shooter experience. Think Quake 3 or Unreal Tournament. It features team-based and solo competitive modes like Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch, Slayer and Team Slayer in Halo's case, along with staples like Capture the Flag.
You're about to be very popular.
Maps are built in a looping arena style, facilitating long-range and close-quarters combat, with respawning weapons strewn about for players to collect, along with limited power-ups to give them an edge in combat.
Double kill.
However, where Halo sets itself apart from other competitive arena shooters is in its mechanics.
Lost the lead.
Halo makes you work for your kill. Each player has a recharging overshield that must be taken down in order to leave them vulnerable for a kill shot. It might take a bit to get that shield down, but once it's zapped, it's only a few more bullets to finish the job. More often than not, taking down a shield will go through most of your weapon's clip, pushing players to have a follow-up attack at risk of leaving themselves vulnerable while reloading, or giving their opponent's shield the chance to recharge. To this day, I still find the good old-fashioned assault rifle with a follow-up jab to the face just as satisfying as when I first did it 20 years ago sitting in front of a CRT with a Duke controller in my hands. Giving this combat more weight is the fact that Halo limits you to 2 weapons at a time. This challenges players to be very considerate about what weapons they take into battle, as a poor combo will likely leave them face to face with the floor. To me, Halo multiplayer is like a cross between rock, paper, scissors, and chess. What I mean by that is that some weapons and weapon combos are simply going to trump others. But also, players have to pay close attention to their opponent, reacting to how they move, how they attack, and anticipating what they'll do next, in order to get the upper hand. All of this adds up to one single word: excitement. Halo multiplayer is exciting. Its tense, nail-biting mechanics can lead to screaming cheers from close victories, or cause a controller to smash into a million pieces after a crushing defeat. The desperate one-on-one scraps of players melting through each other's defenses makes for combat that feels more personal than other competitive games, and thus a lot more satisfying when you land that coveted kill shot.
Double kill.
Whether you like Halo or not, you have to admit, Bungie was onto something back in 01 when they unveiled this style of first-person shooting. And not only has it kept players hooked, it's also influenced, well, maybe over-influenced, many first-person shooters, especially competitive multiplayer first-person shooters, in the last 20 years.
Triple kill.
Damn it. Okay, yes, we all know how Halo multiplayer works, but how does this new version play? Well, on one hand, Infinite is a shining example of the phrase, "If it ain't broke, don't fix it." In broad strokes, the base mechanics are the same as they've been since combat evolved. Shoot, smack, jump, throw. It's just as you remembered it. The wheel hasn't been reinvented, Halo is still Halo. On the other hand though, after putting some hours into this beta, I'd like to make an amendment to this classic phrase with the addition of, "If it ain't broke, don't fix it," but there's nothing wrong with taking what works and refining it to near perfection. And I'm pleased to say that's exactly the case with Infinite.
Double kill.
This is absolutely the best Halo multiplayer has ever felt. Everything about it feels better compared to its predecessors. Everything. Aiming feels a lot snappier, and weapons have more of a pop to their firing, with better, clearer, and I would say more satisfying damage feedback.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. Double kill.
Grenades throw quicker, their physics more consistent, and their trajectory more direct.
Repulsor obtained.
Melee has a harsher sense of impact, and the range and timing for striking feels just right. Movement feels a lot tighter and responsive, and recent Halo maneuvers like sliding and mantling control like butter. Performance was also silky smooth, with the exception of the occasional hit of lag. Halo Infinite feels amazing on the Xbox gamepad, but a great added feature for the Xbox version is mouse and keyboard support, which I happily tested out and was quite pleased with. And in this new age of console and PC crossplay, this is a fantastic thing to have to help level the playing field. Although it would be nice to have a mouse cursor for the main menus, just saying.
Ball dropped.
In terms of matchmaking, things were rockier. Most of the time I had no issues connecting to matches, but there was the occasional disconnect from a game or an overly long lobby wait. The kind of uncomfortable wait that will convince you an error has occurred, and sometimes it had. On several occasions, matchmaking would bug out and fall into a vicious loop of disconnecting and attempting to reconnect, which I couldn't break, forcing me to restart the game. This is probably something that will be handled in future patches, but is something to watch out for. All in all, mechanically, this is Halo at its best. A well-oiled, efficiently designed machine built on the solid foundation of the games that came before it, with its eyes looking to the future.
Double kill.
Alright, so clearly it plays amazing, but what's new in Infinite? Well, I can't really say there's a sweeping tsunami of new stuff, especially when you compare it to previous games. But nevertheless, we do have new modes, abilities, weapons, and maps to sink our teeth into, and there's a whole lot of flavor to enjoy. Let's start with the modes. Classic Halo 4v4 is here as you'd expect, featuring nothing but familiar game types. We of course have Team Slayer, Classic Deathmatch. Capture the Flag is here along with its one flag variant. Oddball, the deadly game of Keep Away, makes a return, along with Strongholds from Halo 5. Teams compete to hold the majority of 3 zones in order to score points. A deadly tug of war. And then there's Fiesta, Team Slayer with randomized weapons, the focus of Infinite's first special event and a good way to get acquainted with the new weapons.
Perforated.
And for the Halo Hardcore, there's Ranked Arena. Battle rifle start, no radar. Just make sure you're warmed up before you go in.
Double kill.
The big new mode of Infinite, emphasis on big, is Big Team Battles, 12v12 multiplayer with teams broken up into 3 squads of 4 players. This mode is all about massive chaotic action, meant to really show off the full spectacle of Infinite's multiplayer.
You are an artist, and this vehicle is your brush.
Big Team features standard game types like Slayer and Capture the Flag, but also has its own version of Stronghold called Total Control. Like Stronghold, teams must control 3 zones. The big difference is that now teams have to hold all 3 points simultaneously, not just the majority, to score a point. Best out of 3 wins the game. This was my favorite game type of Big Team, as it often lent itself to the most action-packed battles. Last, there's Stockpile, a game mode that was originally featured in Halo Reach. Teams compete to grab power seeds, which are strewn about the map, and bring them back to their base. The first team to 5 power seeds earns 1 point, best out of 3. However, a little added spice is that captured seeds can be stolen by the opposing team, making for an enjoyable, action-packed mode with a lot of back and forth. Literally.
Your team just scored. Power seeds.
Nearing victory.
Oh, don't think so.
Now, the modes and game types on offer here I do think will satisfy most Halo fans, and Big Team Battles is a successful addition. That being said, as I alluded to earlier, Infinite is a lot lighter on content compared to previous releases. There are definitely game types missing, like Team SWAT and Infection, and unfortunately the Forge, Halo's custom game editor, has been delayed into 2022 along with the co-op mode for the campaign, which is a bummer. Now granted, there's only so much I can complain because, well, free is free, and there are hours upon hours of fun to be had here. But I am eager to see what this game looks like in a few months with more of its modes and features filled out.
Frag obtained.
Enemies on me.
Halo features a new equipment system in the form of ability pickups, replacing the Spartan ability system from Halo 5, giving players aid in their defense and maneuverability. Found within the maps, these abilities can only be used a limited amount of times, for a limited amount of time, with a cooldown in between. Some of these are familiar, long-time staples, like Overshield and Active Camo. Thrusters also make a return, allowing a Spartan to dash dodge in any direction, along with a new version of the Shield, a simple rectangular barrier that its deployer can shoot through, which is nice, but it can also be damaged by enemy fire, so watch out for that. Outside of the familiar ones, we have the threat sensor, which highlights enemies on the map unlucky enough to step into its range. Not only is it helpful for you, it's also a big help for your team. There's the repulsor, which deflects melee attacks and projectiles, handy if you have the skill for it. The real star of the show, however, is the grapple shot, a beautifully simple but effective device that allows you to hook onto the environment to scale heights or cross distances. Even better, the grapple shot can hook onto other things like flags, enemies, and even vehicles.
Fantastic work, Spartan.
Absolutely phenomenal. We should have had this like 2 Halos ago. The ability pickups aren't anything mind-blowing, but they do have their value in place. A good iteration on the equipment systems that have come before. For weapons, many of the franchise staples have returned, like the battle rifle and assault rifle. The assault rifle in particular is in top form in this game.
It's our lucky day.
Covenant classics like the plasma pistol returns, along with the good old needler. And we can't forget the power weapons like the sniper rifle and rocket launcher that still slap.
How tragic for them.
Infinite, of course, introduces new weaponry, consisting of variations on past classics as well as wholly new implements. Starting with the variations, we gotta talk about the new sidekick pistol, which is included in your default loadout. The sidekick is not as powerful as past Halo pistols or as accurate, but it has a delectably high snappy rate of fire and can be swapped to very quickly, making for a delightful finisher when an opponent's shield is zapped and effective backup for when your primary's clip runs out.
The enemy has captured Alpha.
This gun made me feel like a badass quick-drawing gunslinger every time I used it. I have nothing bad to say about it. Replacing the classic pump-action shotgun is the Bulldog, an automatic. Like the sidekick, it's not as powerful as past Halo shotguns, but has a higher rate of fire, more range, and reloads quicker, making it an overwhelming force of pain. I adore it, best enjoyed against backpedalers in narrow hallways. The Stalker rifle is an amalgamation of past semi-auto plasma weapons. Good range, good power, and a good scope. It's not my favorite scoped weapon, but I was never disappointed to use it. The Pulse Carbine is another amalgamation of past plasma weapons that shoots rapid bursts with light homing properties. This one is okay. The slow speed of the projectiles can make it tricky to hit people at a distance, and the burst fire makes it awkward at close range. If I had a choice, I would always go with the battle rifle or commando instead. The commando seems to be an update on the DMR from previous games, a semi-auto weapon that's sort of a midpoint between the battle rifle and the assault rifle. Not quite as powerful as either, but deadly accurate with great range, balanced out by a bit of recoil. It's a hell of a weapon and very useful in a variety of situations. Going into the wholly new weapons, we have the Skewer, one of my favorites. A scoped heavy weapon that fires a giant spike that can severely damage vehicles and one-shot opponents. No scoping with this thing is exquisite, to say the least.
Ammo reserves depleting.
No scope.
Heatwave shoots a row of projectiles that can ricochet off of the environment. A solid weapon all around and definitely good against a crowd. I initially wasn't a fan of the Disruptor, feeling it was lacking as a pistol compared to the Sidekick. But then I realized its value was more specific. Disruptor shots cause electrical damage over time, which can chain between nearby enemies and can blow up hazards in the environment. Even better, if you shoot enough shots, it can disable vehicles. It's more of a technical weapon. Not one of my go-tos, but I can imagine some players getting pretty crafty with it. Like the Disruptor, the shock rifle also causes chained electrical damage and can disable vehicles, which is a real buzzkill when it happens to you. Past that, it's a decent long-range weapon, but feels redundant compared to other scoped options. The Cinder Shot is sure to be a favorite, a heavy grenade launcher that lobs out energy balls that can bounce and annihilate opponents in just a few hits. Good stuff. Oh, and I have to mention the Mangler. Looks a lot like the Mauler from Halo 3, but shoots a powerful single shot like a hand cannon, and can decimate foes in just a few hits. Has a really satisfying rhythm to its fire rate, too.
All drop.
We've lost possession.
The worst of the new weapons is the Ravager. This is another grenade launcher type that shoots out a volley of red goo. It has a charge attack that does severe damage with a direct hit and spreads its goo all over the place for an AoE attack. I just plain don't think this weapon is very useful. Primary attack is slow, fires at an awkward pace, and while its power is decent, trying to actually lead your shots to hit a Spartan with it is a chore. The secondary attack is a lot more effective, but it takes a long time to charge, and the AoE attack, though aggressive, is easy to escape from. Compared to other weapons, it just doesn't feel that practical, and it's not a surprise a lot of players have been ignoring it. This actually leads me to my one issue, or maybe it's better to say concern, about the new weapons. When compared to the classic Halo arsenal, a lot of the new weapons feel underpowered and not as useful. One of the most powerful and useful weapon pairs in the game is the default one, the assault rifle and pistol. They're amazing, perfect for most combat situations. The rifle is a reliable workhorse of damage, and the sidekick is a swift finisher. They're almost too good. And for a player using a combination of the new weapons, they will more than likely have a hard time besting someone using the default loadout. The result is that a lot of players are skipping over the new weapons and just sticking to the default loadout, or switching to other classic weapons they know work, like the battle rifle. True, new weapons like the Mangler and Skewer are becoming fast favorites, and the new variations like the Bulldog and Commando have been more than useful. But weapons like the Disruptor, Ravager, and Pulse Carbine, for the most part, feel impractical to use. They're fun, they're interesting, they're cool to look at, but until we get some more balancing, the new weapons simply don't add much to gameplay. And that's a shame. Moving on to maps, Halo Infinite features 10 new maps, 3 of which are exclusive for big team battles. Like every Halo game, there are standouts, but personally, I found all the maps to be excellent and highly polished. Infinite maps are easy to approach, have smooth flow, and yet are incredibly intricate. They effortlessly cater to whatever style of play you prefer. If you like taking out enemies at a distance, you will always find good vantage points. If you like more in-your-face combat, there's plenty of areas for focused 1v1 duels. And if you're a sneaky bastard, like me, there are all sorts of corners to hide and spaces to climb up on. In fact, there are so many avenues for traversal, plenty of shortcuts to fast track to other sections of the map, and ways to get the advantage on your enemy. I can only conclude that dozens upon dozens of hours were spent testing and combing through these maps, smoothing over every possible rough edge, and finding every possibility for fun combat situations. My first big standout is Recharge, an asymmetrical map broken up into distinct zones. Perfect for game types like Strongholds. This map features an open central area, broken up between a high level and a low level, where multiple skirmishes can occur. Around it, several claustrophobic corridors where tense one-on-one combat can take place.
Ammo reserves depleting.
Another one for me is Bazaar, a smaller, symmetrical map that reminds me a lot of classic arena shooter level design, featuring a main courtyard area where players can risk open combat and snipers can trade shots from opposite balconies. On the side, an alley leading through a building where players have multiple options for ambushing. The Scientific Aquarius has a similar layout with a similar flow, but now features 2 side thoroughfares to fight in, as well as a raised central platform, where an ability can be obtained, making for a natural point of conflict. Both these maps are perfect for Slayer, but even more fun in Capture the Flag. Speaking of Capture the Flag, Behemoth is sure to be the new go-to for this mode. A sprawling circular desert with a giant Forerunner installation in the middle. Players can take the desert side routes, risking open combat and sniper fire, but also be able to enjoy some vehicular combat. Or they can go through the center for close-quartered fare, likely drawn to the center bridge, which holds an ability and some tricky angles for ambush.
It's our lucky day! Ordnance drop inbound!
All 3 big team maps were enjoyable, but Fragmentation is the best of them. This map throws you into some straight-up wilderness, with plenty of trees for cover, canyons for constricted firefights, and lots of elevation, with winding, snaking roads for vehicles to travel and fight on. This map is able to hold 24 players comfortably. You never feel overwhelmed by too many bodies on the field, something of an issue with the other big team maps, and yet always feel like you are in a chaotic war zone. Oh, and I'm sure you noticed, these maps are drop-dead gorgeous. I'm going to talk about presentation more in the campaign review, but I think it's safe to say that Infinite is a graphical stunner. At least the multiplayer is. Textures are beautifully high resolution, and materials look amazing. I spent a long time just staring at this stretch of asphalt, marveling at the cracks and pebbles. The softer lighting is aesthetically pleasing, especially on maps like Bazaar. And while ray tracing hasn't been implemented, reflections look especially good. In terms of all the technical, Halo Infinite is checking all the boxes. But what truly blew me away was the attention to detail. If you happen to be playing this game right now, do yourself a favor. Start up a custom private match on any of the levels. turn off your HUD and just go look at stuff. Go look at stuff and marvel at the jaw-dropping amount of detail that was put into these maps. Streets is a great one for this. You can find a free book stand, or a vending machine covered in stickers and posters, all legible. There's bits of trash and used cigarettes strewn about, ATM machines that are stuck updating themselves, and mailboxes. On this neon sign, you can even see the electrical wiring and hookups. I mean, this place feels like a place, a lived-in place, like life was happening here and then suddenly everyone disappeared and Spartans showed up. On the Halo-based maps, you can enjoy some nice-looking foliage and trees that had a harsh summer. But go up on one of the installations and the once shiny top is dirty with footprints and mud from Spartans running about. And in Bazaar, the buildings have this incredibly realistic and natural-looking wear and tear. Paint chipping off and cracking, broken windows, boarded up windows, broken railings. It looks like it was all done intricately by hand. Guys, these are multiplayer maps. People aren't coming here to sightsee. And I find it so impressive that 343 took the time to make these places of chaos, carnage, and teabagging look so damn beautiful and believable. Man, I hope there's a photo mode coming soon. Halo Infinite caught some flack initially for its visuals, but by the looks of it, 343 listened and made sure to get this game up to next-gen standards.
Do that again.
Taking a page from the Battle Royale crowd, Halo Infinite features a Battle Pass, wherein earning experience from completing gameplay challenges allows you to level up and earn cosmetics. All players have access to the Battle Pass and its challenges. However, those who buy the Premium Battle Pass for $10 will have access to the full slate of rewards offered each level. So if you look at the Battle Pass rewards here, people going the free route are typically earning stuff every other level, and the actual cosmetic unlocks are pretty few and far between. Basically, if you go the free route, you're gonna have to work harder to reap any of the cosmetic benefits. And unless you're completing challenges left and right, progression can be painfully slow, which, to 343's credit, is something they are actively working on. Fortunately, Infinite isn't too gross about pushing its premium battle pass, but it certainly isn't shy about showing you what you would have unlocked if you had purchased it. Oh, quality marketing, gold star. It does beg the question, is the premium battle pass worth it? Well, when we look at it plainly, Halo Infinite is a totally free-to-play game, with a good amount of content and potential for hours of quality game time. In that light, forking over $10 to put some doodads on your Spartan isn't that big of a deal. That being said, I have yet to get the pass myself. To be blunt, I don't really care how my Spartan looks. Whether or not they look badass isn't really going to change my experience with this game. Plus, I'm not really all that enthusiastic about what's on offer for the Season 1 pass. I mean, the unlockable armor stuff is definitely cool, but I'm not salivating over it, and I'm a little surprised there's nothing a little more outlandish and crazy for the top ranks. There's definitely some legendary armor you can unlock, but then there's also this fire effect, which I don't think looks that good. I mean, that looks like a GIF wrapped around the model with its edges feathered. The other thing too is that Halo Infinite will feature reoccurring special events with unlocks that are available to everyone, premium or not. The first of which being Fracture Tenrai, a Fiesta-focused event that has had some backlash from the community for its limited nature and slow progression. There's definitely some kinks to work out. That all aside, the unlocks I earned from this I thought were way more interesting than the rewards in the Battle Pass. That's how I got my Samurai Spartan here. So if the Battle Pass isn't calling to you, this might be a better route. Well, assuming you have the patience for it.
Ammo reserves depleting.
Either way, if you buy it, great. If you don't, great. I don't think it benefits the game or hurts the game, past a player's own subjective response to it. And no matter what, it's not going to change the fact that this is one of the best multiplayer experiences of 2021. Going into this multiplayer beta, I was expecting good old-fashioned Halo fun, but I wasn't expecting to be this blown away. Not only is this the best feeling Halo multiplayer I've ever played, it's also one of the best feeling multiplayer experiences I've ever played, period. Polished to a mirror shine and visually magnificent. There's certainly still work to be done though. We need to get some of the missing modes put back in and the new weapons need work. and I think we could do better with the Battle Pass rewards. But for a free-to-play experience, this is above and beyond. If you own a next-gen Xbox or a PC that can handle it, this is a no-brainer. I literally can't wait to finish this freaking video so I can go play more of it.
Incredible performance, Spartan.
But what do you think of Infinite's multiplayer? Are you playing it currently? What are your thoughts? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications on future uploads. It's a couple clicks for you, but a massive help for this channel. And be sure to come say hi in the Kirk Collects Discord, linked below. I'm Kirk, and thank you for watching this video. Stay safe out there.